friends get together so they can try things. You're invited to this podcast so that you can try things. Now we will stop singing so that we can all now try this.
Hello and welcome to Now Try This. I am Marcus, that's Nick, and we are joined by a new person. Nick, do you want to let everybody know who that is and who we are?
So freaking excited. My name's Nick. We are Now Try This, and we have a very special guest because this is a special episode of the pod. Marcus, this is my challenge to you. Today we are doing In the Heights, and I needed help. I needed help to talk about this film, so I brought my good friend, Josh Lehman, Broadway star, host of Josh Swallows Broadway, the amazing podcast that probably you should listen to instead of ours. And you can find him everywhere at Josh Lehman. Josh, say hello.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Great.
Beautiful.
Was I supposed to say more?
No,
You
that
can't
is
say more.
perfect. You can't say more if
Okay.
you want to say more.
Well, I'm really excited. I'm a big fan of the show, and this is going to be the best night of our lives.
It truly is.
I'm excited
But
for it to be.
before we get going, a couple things to get out of the way. Guys, there's just a couple days left to vote on the poll for Patreon, patreon.com/nowtrythiscast. We're in a deadlock tie right now. And guys, the way the Patreon works is if you're $5, you get to submit a try every month, but only $1. You just got to give $1 and you get to vote. You can get in there, join the community, and try to decide what we are doing next month because we don't know yet. And I would like to know.
Yeah, I know. It's. I've been trying to get everybody to vote. I'm like, please sign up. Please vote. Please. I don't want a 4-way tie.
Yeah, and you can also get it everywhere on us at Now Try This Cast on Instagram and Twitter. Let us know. But one great way, especially if you can't donate to the Patreon, we do not condemn you for having no money. We have no money. That's why we need a Patreon. Please go ahead and go to iTunes and leave us 5-star reviews, just like Bad Art did. It said 5 stars, almost too good to be true, almost because it is true. Or you could be like Daniel K. Duke, 5 stars, my new podcast BFFs. Love these two. Great chemistry with a fun concept. Really can't wait to listen to more and to see what they'll try next. So Marcus, we have exactly 99 reviews.
Whoa!
Wow. No celebration. I'm mad. I'm
Whoa,
pissed. We're
what are
not
you
at
mad
100
about?
yet. We need to be at 100.
Oh my God. What do we get at 100?
We get
Nothing. You get nothing. I
No,
have
we
a
join
podcast.
podcast royalty.
Guys,
Trust me, you get nothing.
If you get us to 100 podcast reviews, we will mail out a sticker to someone.
I'll hook up with you. I will hook up with the 100th person. Is that
Guys,
what you
jump
want?
on iTunes, leave 5 stars. Josh will hook up with you.
Get all this brisket.
Now, before we get into the movie we are reviewing today, In the Heights, what we always try to do is say what we're trying new in the world, what's going on. And I thought maybe I would give it to our guest first. Josh, have you been trying anything new in the world? Any TV show or activity or book or what is getting you through these weeks lately?
Well, nothing's really getting me through, but I will
Oh, okay,
say
never
for the
mind.
first time, I've started watching The Office.
Whoa!
Yeah.
That's wild.
Well, normally I don't really watch comedies. I think just because I do comedy so much that I like really dark things.
Oh.
And so I was like, I'll give it a shot. And it's really funny.
That's good.
How
It's
far
nice
are
that
you?
that show still holds up.
Yeah, I mean, it's the first 2 episodes, which I'm like,
Wow.
some of it is very uncomfortable considering how far we've come. But at the same time, it's still really funny.
That is wild. That because people are on their 7th or 8th viewing, and you're 2 episodes in. So
Never seen it.
It is some people's entire personality. So, Josh, I warn you, be careful. Don't be consumed by it.
I think I already have plenty of personalities, so my
well,
other
Josh, I don't know if
personalities
you
would say
go
no.
through this, but every time I'm swiping on a dating app, used to swipe on a dating app, every other dating profile is like, I love The Office.
Yep.
Office is for me.
Yep.
That's the
That
best
doesn't
thing in the
happen
world.
in the gay world. The gay
That's what I was
people,
asking. What's
they'll
what
make like a
tell me.
Golden Girl reference and then some sort of like,
Oh.
just looking for friends, but their pictures are them like being dirty little sluts, you know, or whatever. But also, I'm too tired for dating apps now. I'm like, you want to do what? No. Absolutely not.
You want to meet up where? Do what?
Absolutely. At 7? God, no. So
We're getting old. We're getting old, so we have to start watching The
Mhm.
Office. What about you, Marcus? Have you been trying anything new lately?
Oh man, this question comes every week, and it's equally stressful. This week, I've been reading a lot of comic books recently.
Ooh.
I was trying to get back
What
into
do you-
comic books. I'm
what
reading
do you- what's
Thor
the-
right now, which is very, very good.
Very unlike you. So
I know
mainstream.
Thor normally kind of sucks. I will be honest, but the storyline now is pretty interesting. They're doing a lot of new cool stuff.
Okay.
What about you, Nick?
Okay.
Your turn.
Well, there's one thing that I've done in the waning weeks that has honestly been the most exciting, and Josh can relate because Josh and I have a show coming up on Friday, New York City,
Oh.
at the Magnet Theater, 7 o'clock. I don't know. Our team Merrill is performing, and we had our first I can't describe to you, Marcus, how pent up we've been because we've been doing shows, we've been doing improv,
Mhm.
but all of it over Zoom, all of it in this little box, trying to sit down and give energy and pretend we're cows and do these random things. But for the first time, we had practice, and we got up in a room and we were sitting next to a piano that was playing live and singing to each other. And my God, is there nothing like it in the world?
true.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's
Josh, how did you
wonderful.
feel going back?
It was the same thing. It was better than sex. It was incredible. And yeah, I hope everybody can come. It's Friday, July 30th, 7 p.m. And yeah, get tickets at magnettheater.com, which is spelled with an ER, not an RE. Huh.
Interesting.
Yeah, go get tickets.
Yeah,
one
Magnet Theater
one is
is,
the
accessible.
building and one is the art form, right? Is that how it works?
Yeah, and it should be the art
Yeah.
form because it's like a acting place.
Yeah.
But it's not, which is very
Yeah.
confusing. Okay, so today we are here to do, gosh, it feels like it's a long time coming. We're here to do In the Heights.
I know how much this means to you, and I have been waiting for this for so long. I knew as soon as this was made into a movie that you were going to give this to me as a challenge, and I'm excited for you to talk about what it means to you and why you gave it to me. Or
Guys,
us.
I just need to preempt it really, really hard. If I cry in the podcast, I apologize. But don't. But the movie is still judgeable. It is not perfect. I love it. But we can talk about it critically. That's fine. Don't feel bad. I want to hear all your harshest
Shed
blows.
your tears. Nobody feels bad.
Hell
Shed
yeah.
your tears.
Cry.
Okay, so the reason that I gave this movie, I saw a tour of In the Heights in 2010 while I was in college, and I cried, I remember very specifically 7 times when I saw the stage show, because at that point, I was in college for theater. I wanted to be an actor, and I didn't contend with my Latino-ness until college. Growing up, I was different than a lot of people. I didn't know why. I was ostracized from a lot of the community. I didn't know why. I spoke differently. The code switching that I had to do really messed me up as a kid because I was going back to my neighborhood and I wouldn't be cool enough to hang out with them. And then I would go to school and be in all these classes with white people and I didn't fit in there. And I just felt this just general awe of not fitting in. And then I went to college and it was the same. I was lucky enough to find some people like Marcus who could relate to me culturally, but on the stage, there's just this disconnect of me freaking doing a scene from Death of a Salesman. It's like, I don't know these people. But then I saw the show where everybody looked like me. Everybody sounded like me. They spoke in my language. They looked like my mom, my grandma, my aunt, my cousin, and I was blown away. And I feel the same way about this movie. I've been following the career for these people for years. I've been following the conception of this film for a long, long time. I've devoured the soundtrack all these years. It is my favorite musical. It's crazy. It's so important to me who I am, like, as an actor. Like, it felt
It's
like it
your
gave me
Fiddler.
permission 100%, which is funny because Fiddler is my second favorite.
Well, I remember, my great grandparents came because of the pogroms and all that kind of stuff. And they were very unemotional people. And so I have all these stories about when they saw Fiddler for the first time
Yeah.
and they felt the same. And so I'm glad that we're at a place where representation is there for everyone.
It's
Yeah.
so funny you bring that up because I totally think of this as a modern Fiddler.
Yeah.
Like, I totally think of it
I
in
can
the
see
same
that.
vein 100%. Yeah.
It's
Now,
so
Marcus, what was
important.
your
Oh.
history? What
I
was
was
your
gonna
history
say,
with this?
it's so important to like tell these kinds of stories, right? Because like there are different kinds of people out there, and unfortunately, media is predominantly white. And it's nice to see that even though this has existed for a while out there, not a lot of people have the opportunity to come to New York City and see a Broadway show, or can even afford it on tour. So it's nice that this was turned into a movie that people can consume at home.
I agree.
Yeah. And what was your history with the show, Marcus? Do you know of it? I mean, you are Puerto Rican, so you should know something.
I am Puerto Rican, so I should know something. No, I didn't have the chance to see it when it was here. And so I ended up just listening to soundtrack, and I've been listening to soundtrack for years and years and years and years and years. So I only know the story through the soundtrack. So it's nice to see the in-between bits because I had no idea what was happening. You kind of piece things together a little bit, but finally you get to see what is actually happening in the story.
And what about you, Josh? Have you seen the show? Do you know of the show?
Well, funny enough, I was walking down, I think it's 46th Street. I was just bored one day. I think like a friend canceled plans, and there was a lottery for some new show. It was their second preview. And I was like, and somebody was like, yeah, the guy who wrote it is in it. And I was like, okay, fine. It's $20 if I win. If I don't, no problem. And I won. And I was front row center. And I was blown away. You know, I forget his last name, but Seth, who played Graffiti Pete in the original production. I mean, there was a moment where he was dancing and he like kicked his legs over his head and he froze, and then he winked at me because I was in the front row. He was like, look at this. You know, and it was mind-blowing. And I was like, this Lin Miranda fellow is really gifted, you know, and here we are.
Wow.
That's awesome.
So before we get into a lot of this movie, I think I just want to say I was lucky enough. My mom came to visit a couple weeks before the movie came out, which was like, oh, if only the timing was like perfect. Like, wouldn't that have been great? But for weeks, I was scouring to see if there were early showings or something. Because you know how New York City is. I found a showing that I got tickets for an hour and a half in Jersey. So my wonderful girlfriend rented a car for us so that me, my mom, and her could drive an hour and a half outside the city. When she came to visit New York City, we went to Jersey. How unappealing. We went to Jersey, we saw it, and I got to take my mother, and that was the first time I saw it at that early preview, and that was golden. They were lucky enough to put this on HBO, so it extended, I think, a lot more, and it comes out in video soon. But I think the movie starts right away. We're on some beach somewhere, and Usnavi is speaking to some kids, and like right away, you know, like what this movie is like gonna be. Like it's this like classic narration, kind of musical theater, tropey kind of thing to get us going. And you meet Anthony Ramos a little older, and then you get him a little younger, and he wakes up in that small ass apartment, which we all know all too well, don't we not?
100%.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I feel like, you know, growing up in New York City, I grew up in the Bronx, and a very similar community, very similar atmosphere. And so like you seeing your family, I sort of like saw my community in this, and I was like, oh, that's like my grandma, and that other person looks exactly like my other grandma, and that one looks like my cousin. And it is really interesting. You get that right off the bat. Like the movie starts off and you immediately get that sense of like community.
Yeah. Josh, what's your history with the Latinos?
With the Latinos.
Yeah. What's your
I mean, I
entire
grew
history? Every Latino you've ever met. Tell us.
Well, there was this one. No, I grew up in San Diego, but at the same time, like my high school wasn't segregated by force. It just was that, you know, it was like there were the white kids, there were the black kids, there were the Latino kids. And that's just sort of how it was at my school. And, you know, so I didn't really get much culture Latino-wise until I was an adult. But also I lived in Washington Heights when I first moved here. And so it was interesting, you know, like I very much felt the vibe immediately.
Yeah. You went out to the bodegas in the corners and saw everyone sitting there playing music all hours of the day, hanging
That's
out.
all that we had, except the all hours of the day sort of got to me, like at 3 a.m. when you're hearing like da-da-da-da-da-da. You know, I was like, enough, no more.
That sounded like the first three notes to the Ninja Turtles.
Oh yeah, it does.
It was very good. Very good.
Thanks.
The Ninja Turtles are Latino. That's
Everyone knows that.
Everyone knows that.
Yeah. I think the coolest part about that opening is how, like you were saying, how it feels so much like the city, right? Because especially those moments when they're singing in Washington Heights and you see all these different people, you see nurses and janitors janitors and like just regular people like waking up for the day, sitting around a kitchen table. And when they filmed that, some of the people that they filmed were just residents of the Heights. Like there was a janitor that was helping them corral people in one of the apartment buildings, and the director was like, hold on a second, stand there for a second, turn on the camera. And like he's in the movie. It's just a janitor.
Wow, I didn't know
amazing.
that. That's really cool.
Yeah, like what a way to capture that part of the city and film it all in the Heights, right? You know, Lynn lives there. He filmed it there. Him and Kiara, who wrote the film, made sure that it tried to represent it best they can. But I don't want to talk the whole time, so I'll kick it to Marcus. Marcus, like at the beginning of the movie, what are you feeling? What are you seeing?
Sorry, there's an alarm going off. Hopefully you guys can't hear it.
We can hear it.
Oh,
Use
no, I'm so sorry. Okay, sorry. What did you say again? The alarm distracted me.
Go to the beginning of the movie. What are you thinking? What are you seeing?
No, I mean, like immediately, I'm thinking about you. I'm thinking about like your history with this movie. I'm trying to process that, and then I'm also seeing my family and the people that I grew up with, like my old neighborhood, and it just, I don't know, it just made me so emotional so many times. Like you said, you cried 7 times, and I was like, those are probably the same exact 7 times I almost cried watching this movie. Because it's just that it just brings you back, right? Like I feel like a lot of the plot lines too, where they're talking about like getting out, you know, like they do a lot of work at the beginning to establish this neighborhood, the sense of community and the pride that they have, but then also the reality of the situation, right? Like it's not an ideal situation to be in necessarily, and there are a lot of people who want to get out of there. And so when I was growing up in the Bronx, I constantly had that mindset. I was like, I need to get out. It is my goal to get the fuck out here as soon as possible. There's too much crime. There's too much bullshit. And I don't want to end up in a gang. Not that I was going to be invited, but you know what I mean.
100%. And that story of getting out is something that I think transcends race, right? Like, because Josh, I mean, you're not from New York City. You came here to follow a dream. Like
every hometown, I think everybody wants to leave, but there are much different challenges in the Heights, in the Bronx, than there were in Poway, California. You know, I wanted to leave the cows and the homophobes.
Fair. Yeah.
You know,
but that's not, that's not in
that's
and
not
of itself,
nothing.
not
You know
tough.
what I mean?
That's
it's
like-
not nothing, but it's also not like,
Yeah.
you know, I remember my mom, when I asked her if I could wear boxers when I was like 12 or whatever, she was like, are you in a gang? And I was like, what fucking gang would ever want me?
Those cows look
Mother.
pretty rough.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
And it's crazy. It's because I think there's an undertone of the film, right? Like getting out and being in the neighborhood. And Marcus, you and I know it well. Of when you grow up in the hood, it would have been so easy for us to fall down that track. Honestly, I think we kind of got lucky that we're kind of losers and nerdy, and we're a little ostracized because of that section.
I will say my white skin is probably what kept me out of gangs, but that's just how society works, unfortunately.
But not 100%, right?
Yeah,
because of where
it's
we
true.
grew up. Like it really could end up the other way. And there's this. I think the movie does a really good job of contending with those things because it's finally a film about Latinos where no one's a gangbanger, no one's selling drugs,
Yeah.
no one's doing all those things. But that doesn't mean it's not there, right? Like getting out of the neighborhood. I think
It's implied, like it's a musical, right? Like I feel like when you have gangs in musicals, it's too cringy and unrelatable. Like
Yeah, and
Well,
West
we're
Side
not
Story
doing
did
West
it
Side
already,
Story.
right?
Yeah.
I think that they really skirted the issues of, those kinds of things. And I get it. They didn't want that to be the representation. And in the musical on Broadway, there really wasn't that either. But at that moment in the blackout, when there really wasn't like, and this isn't the whole city going crazy. It was like one person trying to loot the bodega, and Sonny was like, back up, back up, back up, or whatever. So you just knew that there was danger. I think part of my issue with the film, and I love Lin-Manuel Miranda, but I feel like he Disneyfies things.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
A
Okay.
lot,
Yeah.
which I understand.
totally.
But just like a critical point of view, that's how I felt.
I could see that. Yeah, because when that backup, I mean, listening to the soundtrack so long, I haven't watched the original, but like they in the movie version, they said it as a reference to like backing away from the fireworks. But in the show version, it's like back away from the store. He's
They're like
protecting
getting jumped.
his property. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. In in the movie version of Blackout, there's no reason for anybody to be freaking out. They leave the club and they start lighting
Yeah.
off fireworks and dancing in the streets. So even though the lyrics and the intentions are opposite that, you know, in the
Yeah.
film, there wasn't like any sense of, oh my gosh, we're in a blackout. This is terrifying.
Yeah, I get that. It's interesting though, because I feel like I was thinking about this too, because listening to the soundtrack, you see that like there was danger. And then in the show, there's no danger, no rush, but they didn't really change the lyrics to represent that, which is kind of like jarring a little bit. But I did think back to when there was that big New York City blackout and I was a
Ugh.
kid growing up in the Bronx, right? And so the news was like everywhere was like crime, murder, it's coming, you're all gonna die constantly. Just like for like the entire day, you're just hearing that. Stay indoors, there's gonna be gangs everywhere, shootings. And we did stay indoors. We left and it was fine. Like everyone was just having a barbecue. You know, I was living in one of the worst neighborhoods at the time and it was fine.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, I
who
remember
knows?
walking home from Midtown to, I think I was in Morningside Heights at that point, and the only thing that was scary was that there weren't any lights, and the city
Yeah.
was, you know, that's what was terrifying.
Yeah.
New Yorkers were helpful. They were like, here's a flashlight, here's water, here's whatever, you know, no matter what neighborhood you were in.
Yeah.
And it's funny,
Yeah.
in an interview with Lin-Manuel, he's talking about these things about how, you know, these are stereotypes and they don't always have to be in the stories, you know. And he was talking about the crime rate in Washington Heights is lower than it is in the Upper West Side
I believe it.
or Upper East Side. One of the
I
sides.
just think that maybe they could have changed some of the lyrics to make
Yeah.
it suit the story better.
I agree
agree.
with that point.
I think there's a couple moments in the movie where they were trying to contend with keeping the energy and the flow from the original movie, but they were trying to change the story. And I think sometimes they nailed it, but sometimes there was a clear, like, this was an old phantom remnant of the show
Yeah.
that is not
Yeah.
working in this story
Yep.
that you're telling now.
I was thinking about this and I wanted to ask both of you how you feel about this because you guys, I work in theater, but in finance, not on stage or acting in anything like that. So I wanted to ask you guys, I feel like a lot of the vocal performances were very similar to the original Broadway cast, which I don't know if I liked. I wanted to get your guys' take on it.
Oh, I was
have so much
blown
to say.
away. I
Okay.
was blown away because so many movie musicals, they cast somebody that can't sing.
That's true.
No offense, Beauty and the Beast and Emma, whatever. But when she's like, little town, it's a quiet village. It's like, what the hell? Like, your voice is the beast. Enough. And so for them to have like
Savage.
real singers, that I was like, thank you. It's a musical. You should sing.
I agree. I mean, I like the quality of singing, but I feel like they sounded like the original cast, which was an interesting choice casting wise.
I don't disagree. I think Anthony Ramos definitely made the part his own. He had to. He's not like Lynn at all.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, and I feel like you're probably talking about Nina and Vanessa.
Nina, Vanessa,
think-
even the guy who replaced Leslie Odom
Benny.
Jr. I feel
Oh,
like he
Not
sounded
Leslie
a lot
Odom Jr.,
like
Chris
him.
Jackson.
Chris Jackson.
Jackson.
Not Chris Jackson.
The softy
I-
guy.
That's
Yeah,
so
yeah.
funny. I know. That's so funny because I disagree with you so much. I think Corey Hawkins, I think out of everyone in the movie, I think a lot of them are doing that. They're like performing this show, but I think
Mhm.
Corey Hawkins is the only one for me that 100% made it his own.
Mm.
Like Corey Hawkins, I think out of all the people in this movie is a breakout star for me. I'm going to follow him forever because him
Interesting.
as Benny, his swagger, his charisma, his relationship, his acting, his singing. The dude
Yeah.
was Dr. Dre in that NWA movie.
Oh, okay.
Guy's good. I don't know. What do you think, Jeff?
I like the whole cast. thought
I
they were great.
loved the cast. You know, with the exception of one, I really loved the cast.
Oh, I need to know who that
Uh-oh.
one is
We
right
need to
now.
know who this one is.
Who
I'll
is it?
tell
No shade.
you.
Everyone did great.
No
No shade.
shade. Lin-Manuel has enough. He has enough. He
Uh,
did not need to be the Paragua guy. And, you know, Eliseo Roman, who originated the role, was phenomenal. And also, they
Yes.
incorporated so many of the, you know, original cast into the film. That would have given Eliseo, I mean, that would have made life different for him.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we're already seeing the film. We know who Lin-Manuel is. Everybody's Hamilton. I thought that it was really tacky that he played the Paragua guy. I also like they extended the role
To
for
add
him.
more? Yeah, yeah.
You know, where I was
Which was
just
kind of
like,
weird too.
That to me didn't sit well with me. It's like you had an opportunity to really change somebody's life. And this whole movement is about representation.
Yeah.
So let somebody underrepresented, you
Mhm.
know, have some representation. I thought that was meh.
I think it's a super valid criticism. However, the thing is, Lynn agrees with you, Josh. Lynn did not want to be in the movie. Lynn said, this was my time. They offered him Usnavi, and he's like, I'm not that guy anymore. I don't relate with Usnavi anymore. We have to give it to the next generation. He was very adamant. And he did not want to be in this movie. But you know why he said yes? Because they were going to cut Pedagua Guy.
Really?
They were going to cut the song. And if he didn't do it, they would have cut the song. The producers were going to cut it. Yeah.
That sucks.
That
does
sucks.
Yeah, it does
suck.
suck. Because I agree with you, because
That
the
is-
guy who originated it is iconic. I love him.
No, I mean, I agree with Josh too. I feel like,
Yeah.
get anybody else in there. If you want Lin-Manuel Miranda in the movie, put him as Mr. Softy guy or something. Like, give him a small
Give him a
Sure.
cameo.
role. Yeah, exactly.
Even have that solo in the Carnival Barrio song.
Mhm.
Let him do that, but
Yeah.
also like if I was Lin-Manuel, and granted I'm not, and I've never had to fight Hollywood, I would have been like, no Pedagua, no film.
If only you could do that, right? Once you sell the rights, you're
I
kind
know,
of like,
Yeah.
I
you
know,
know,
then you're fucked.
you know how that
Yeah.
works. But I agree with you. I agree. You can curse.
Okay.
Yeah,
You can curse as much as you fucking want. I don't fucking care.
Oh fuck, that's so hot to me.
But I agree with you. But here's the thing. I will say I love Lynn. He's now like maybe after J-Lo the most famous Islander we got.
Oh,
right?
excuse me, Mark Anthony. He was in this movie and
Mark
deserves
Anthony-
a seat
Mark-
at the table, baby.
Mark Anthony
My
gets a seat
boy,
at the table.
Mark Anthony, my namesake, Mark Anthony.
Mark Anthony deserves a table, but a lot of white people don't know who Mark Anthony is. A lot of white
Fair,
people know who
fair
Lin
I
Manuel
know
is.
who he is. I think Lin-Manuel is just sort of above him these
It
days.
is. It is. It is.
But
He is,
but
100%.
but honestly, I think we can all agree that he's charismatic and wonderful, but he's not an A+ singer. I
100%.
actually thought that him singing Pedagua Guy was the best I've ever heard him sing, and I appreciated it
I
because
agree.
he definitely stepped up. And honestly, I think he got some lessons because it sounded better than he usually does.
I mean, auto-tune does wonders, but also for the
It worked.
record,
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I love Lin-Manuel too.
We all do.
I think he's a really nice person. He writes bops, and he's a really smart writer.
Yeah.
So as much as I'm being critical with this, I've also been doing musicals for like 20 something years. So I'm a little jaded when it comes to it because my mind goes to the technical things.
Well, I
like
mean, and
those
you don't have to
things.
talk on it if you don't want to, Josh, but I know personally, what it's like having Hollywood swoop in and cast a film against the betterment of the film because they think it's going to sell better.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to lie. Like, the Prom movie will always hurt. I made it through about 15 minutes and then I had to turn it off because I was like, this is making me feel bad. Not anything against that cast at all. But when it's sort of dangled in front of you, boy, oh boy, does that get your hopes up. So I do have an empathy for the
Yeah.
people in the film, in the Broadway cast that were not used.
Yeah. And Marcus, so Josh was on Broadway on The Prom and, one of the people that wasn't asked back. They could have invited Josh to be in
That
the movie.
sucks.
No,
Yeah,
They
of course.
used
And-
one person and because she lived in LA in the ensemble.
That's
And
crazy.
honestly, the only thing that grinds my gears about it, Josh, I've never said this. I don't know if this is too much. The guy, I like the actor who played your part in the movie. I like the guy.
Kevin, yeah, he's wonderful.
He's a great guy. But they literally gave him glasses you wear.
Oh,
you were
no.
obviously you were
Yeah.
you were
Oh,
a
that's
part
bullshit.
of the creation of that.
Well,
Yeah.
they
And then
also
here you
treated
are,
him terribly. Because,
Oh, wow.
yeah, they rewrote it so Aquafina was going to play the role. And right before they started filming, she dropped out. And that's when the dangling started happening. They gave it to Kevin. And then they cut him out of the whole movie. They treated him like shit. And, I'm grateful that wasn't my experience. But going
Yeah.
back to In the Heights, one of the most powerful moments for me is Doreen Montalvo, I think I'm saying. I hope I'm saying that right. She passed this year from cancer.
Yes.
She's the one who sang
wow.
the Nina, Nina, na, 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 in the Breathe. And she was in the original production, and they did recognize her with a graffiti in memory. And that to me was really moving.
Super
incredible.
I cry now thinking about it. She was in the original workshop. She was in the original
wow.
off Broadway, on the Broadway. She was a part of that family.
She
and then when it
understudied
came
everybody. Totally.
Yeah, and then when it came
Wow.
time to do the movie, Lynn was like, I don't hear anyone else doing that part. And they were
Yes.
able to immortalize her in the film, and she passed shortly after.
Oh my God. It's
Um,
amazing that she
yeah.
got to be a part of this because a
Yeah.
lot of
Yeah,
people
yeah,
are
yeah.
going to see this.
There's a great
yeah.
video that goes around now and then of her with the other ensemble singers and stuff watching it for the first time.
Oh,
You know, and they're just crying, and it's really beautiful. And they did
Great.
use a lot of the singers and principal performers for the vocals
Mm.
for the show,
Oh, wow.
for the movie.
I mean, just to talk about fucking the amount of people they used at this movie, like they got so many people from New York. They got so many Latinos and Latinas to
That's
be
incredible.
in this film. I mean, just like thinking about all these dance numbers. I mean, like
Of
how
all shapes and sizes.
all.
Oh,
I
that's
love
awesome.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was nobody like smack dab in the center that was like, I'm hot, so I'm going to be here. But they look like people from the neighborhood. They look
Yeah.
like people from, where we grew up. They look like us,
That's amazing. I was going to ask this question of you guys. What do you think about movie musicals? Because I feel like a lot of people have strong opinions on it. And I am pro movie musical. I think that they get the word out to a lot of people that wouldn't necessarily get to see Broadway. But I am always met with like hate for that, especially like I work for Schubert. I talk to a lot of people in the theater industry all the time, and they give me a lot of hate for it, and I still stand by it. So what do you guys think about movie musicals?
I think it's wonderful. I think it's wonderful that they're there. Now, as an audience member, I do musicals for a living, so oddly enough, I don't really like going to see musicals anymore.
Oh,
Not for any, I love listening to them, but when it comes to if I'm going to spend my money, I usually see like really dark things, true crime things, serious things, or normal plays. But with that said, movie musicals played a huge part in my life growing up. I'm so grateful for them, and now and then they do it right. And even though I had issues within the Heights, they certainly did it right.
Yeah,
That's
and
great.
then for me, I'm totally in the same camp as both of you because I think I understand where some of the criticisms come from because like the Phantom of the Opera movie is not perfect, right?
I've never seen it. It sounds bad.
Don't.
Here's the thing, but here's the thing. As a 14-year-old in fucking Dunkirk, New York,
Mhm.
who had no chance to see that or experience that, being able to go to the video store and rent these musicals to start to dip my toe into this world was so formative and so important. What do I wish it was, Broadway
A
people and it
singer?
would have been better? And singers, yeah. Of course. But like but sometimes they do it right. Like I think we all agree that Rent is a great film and it exposed so many people to. Do you not like Rent?
The movie?
Yeah.
The movie is an abomination.
I love
Red
the movie.
Fight.
No,
Fight.
the movie is the abortion that got away.
Oh my goodness.
The movie is caca.
Oh no.
I will say this. I also hate the Rent movie, and I'm just gonna put that out there.
I'm on an island of me.
Because
I think so.
Too many people hyped it up. People were like, "Oh my god, Rent's the
Mm.
greatest musical ever made. I love it. It's so good." And they were talking about the movie, not the performance. And I was like, "Okay, cool." And people kept hyping it up. I finally saw it, and I was like, "What the fuck was that?" So it put me off too. I still want to see a live production of it, but
I loved the show when I was younger, but then when I saw it as an adult, I was like, wait a minute. So let me get this straight. They don't want to pay rent, which we all have to do, and their friend Benny has bought a building. Good for him. And he's the bad guy after letting them live there for free for forever for wanting rent. And then, like,
Capitalism took Josh. Capitalism took Josh.
Capitalism's got Josh.
well, I mean, come on. Yes, it's hard work to own a building. And it's like,
Uh-huh.
no, you don't get to live there for free and light fires.
Isn't it fucked up too that it's like he's your friend, he's trying to make it, and you don't want to support him?
Yes. And then, like, Mimi, okay, after Out Tonight, she breaks into Roger's apartment. Roger is highly depressed, newly
recovering
sober
addict.
from heroin,
Yeah.
and dealing with having AIDS. Okay, so she breaks into the apartment with heroin and says, let's go out tonight. And he's like, how dare you come into my home like this? And she goes, no day but today. Like, You know,
Oh my
so
God.
Yeah,
as an
yeah, yeah.
adult, as an adult
As a
capitalist,
responsible adult.
I'm just like, oh,
I totally hear all of that thing. But for me, seeing it as a kid, it like, and I'm sure you remember seeing I've seen it like 3 times since I've seen the movie.
Mhm.
It like, as that theater kid, it like gives you permission to like be weird and go out
Be
and
different.
like be
Yeah.
different, right? Yeah,
Do
yeah,
heroin.
Yeah,
and do
exactly.
heroin.
Mhm.
And do heroin.
Though, speaking of Rent, one of my favorite parts
I thought you were
of
gonna
the
say
In the
speaking of
Heights
heroin.
movie, no, speaking of heroin, no, speaking of Rent, the original Broadway Mimi, Daphne Rubin Vega, I think is, she's one of my favorite performers anyway. I think she was probably my favorite character in the film of In the Heights.
She
I
was
thought that she was
perfect.
incredible. Yeah.
She
Mhm.
was great.
And they made that character make sense. I remember in the Broadway one, I was like, who is this? And now I have to listen to her sing about a carnival. I was like, come on, get going. I got a train to catch. But in the film, I was like, oh, okay, I get it. You're
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
auntie in this neighborhood.
It made a lot of sense.
Yeah. And also with the passing of the matriarch of Abuela Claudia, she kind of is like trying to like almost step in and like pick
Mhm.
everyone up. And that
Mhm.
scene, like, I think she's fun and great during the whole show. I didn't think anything too much of it, but the energy she brought kind of out to bring the whole barrio back
It worked really
Up.
well.
Yeah. But
was like iconic.
as a gay person, I found it confusing as they set her up. She's a lesbian. In the first, she wakes up, forget the other person's name,
Stephanie Beatrice, Daniela.
kisses
in the
her,
movie.
and they start their day, and then it's like all of that is the way they're coworkers. And
Yeah.
so
They're
I
still
was
together.
like, yabba dabba do. I
Yeah,
was
I
like,
get that.
you're either gonna go there or you're not gonna
They
go
just
there.
like slid it in, and that's it.
Yeah,
Didn't
I
talk
mean,
about it.
she could just be an intimate roommate, and we've all had those. You know, like
That's so funny. I thought they were like, they seemed together to be during all the songs.
they seemed
I-
like coworkers.
I
friends.
didn't even know she was gay until you just said that. So
I didn't know either until somebody pointed it out, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, I'm outraged!" You know, like,
yeah,
That's fair.
yeah,
That's super fair.
100%. That makes sense.
Yeah, but I think she was a great part of the middle. I think
She's
getting
amazing.
her to be a part of it is just like, it was perfect.
it was
great.
a chef kiss.
Yeah, I think at some point Jayla was attached to do that role.
Oh,
Really?
No,
Early
no,
on,
no.
I think
Well,
so.
I know
think so.
JLo wants to do musicals. She just made a deal to make a bunch of musicals, I think for TV or film. I forget. But
Oh.
As someone whose one of their favorite films is Made in Manhattan, I am here for it.
what?
Oh no.
I am a
at least
J.Lo
it's on
stan.
Geely or whatever that movie was that she did.
Oh. Well, Geely 2 might be coming up. She's
exactly.
back with Ben.
It's gonna get a sequel. She's
back.
back with Ben.
What?
Who knows?
Hustlers
You don't-
was good.
You don't. Hustlers is great. You didn't know this, Josh? She's back with Ben Affleck. They're together again.
Oh, yeah. That film is like they're making a sequel of that.
No, no, I was-
caca?
No,
Oh,
no.
their
But
relationship.
Their relationship.
Good. Sometimes you need to break apart to get back together, huh?
Now, while we're talking through this, I just want to kind of fastball throw a couple sequences at you guys, and I just want you to tell me whether you think they were good or bad.
Okay.
Okay.
And then later on, we'll get into the minutia of them.
Sure.
Okay.
How about 96,000? Setting
Hated
that
it.
up.
It was fine. I
We
liked
think
it.
it's bad. Okay. What about champagne?
Loved it.
when he's trying to open the champagne bottle?
Yeah.
I
This
don't know. Is that
damn
a special moment to
champagne.
talk about? I feel like
Okay.
It's a
Marcus
great
thinks
song.
it's bad. Josh thinks it's good.
It's
Okay.
fine.
What about When You're Home?
Hated it.
I like that. That was good.
Bad.
Wait, was
and
that when they're
good?
dancing on the side of the building?
No. That's
Oh,
earlier.
I
No,
thought it
I-
was fine.
I also hated the dancing on the side of the building. Whatever that part that was, I didn't like.
Hated
that one.
it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, what about the argument between Vanessa and Usnavi during Blackout?
Ugh, so terrible.
Wait, what? Oh, because they were like, she was trying to find him. She was like, "Oh no, you
Yeah, yeah.
abandoned." Yeah, I
Yeah,
didn't
yeah,
like
yeah.
that one either.
Great. Well, that all gives me info for our game we're about to play. Marcus,
damn
roll
it.
the clip.
Now try this trivia. Now try this trivia. Now trivia. Now trivia. Now trivia this.
Now, hey, when we're back,
Guys, we are going to play a game called Good Bad or Bad Good. Welcome to the Washington Hood.
Okay.
There's a cat
I
here.
am going to send each of you a couple scripts.
okay,
And we are going to, if you told me the scene was bad, then you are going to be trying to make it better.
Wait a minute. That's not fair because it's not the performances that I thought were bad. It was the idea
And if you thought
around.
it was good, then you're going to give me a bad version of it.
Ugh, okay,
Okay.
fine. This is not
All right.
fair.
It is
I'm
not fair.
I'm still confused.
That is how we do it in Now Try This Land.
Okay,
yeah.
your audience is really going to judge you for this.
I agree, 100%.
Honestly, I have no problem with that. First one here, we got the beginning of 96,000. I need a Benny, and then I need somebody to be everybody else.
I'll be
I
everybody
guess
else. Is there-
I'll be a Benny, but I'm gonna be dramatic about it.
No, you should be dramatic. You do not have to sing. You can sing and rap these scenes. You do not have to. I want a
No,
dramatic
no, no.
reading. We want to make this better. Give me your best Shakespeare.
Yo, if I won the lotto tomorrow, well, I know I wouldn't bother going on no spending spree. I'd pick a business school and pay the entrance fee. And maybe if you're lucky, you'll stay friends with me. I'll be a businessman, richer than Nita's daddy. Tiger Woods and I'm the Lynx and he's my caddy. My money's making money. I'm going from Po to no Modo to Modo. Keep the bling. I want the brass ring. Like Frodo.
I love it. Oh no, here goes Mr. Braggadocio. Next thing you know, you're lying like Pinocchio.
Yo, if you're scared of the bull, stay out of the rodeo.
Yo, I got more flows than Obi-Wan Kenobi, yo.
Yo, I'm sorry, is that an answer? Shut up, go home and pull your damn pants up. As for you, Mr. Frodo of the Shire, what? 96 days ain't enough to retire. That's my Lin-Manuel, by the way.
That's beautiful. I like
Thanks.
it.
Pretty good.
Not bad.
Okay, I would say you guys definitely improved on the scene. You said it was bad, and now you made it better.
Well, let me tell you why it was bad. And for me, like the movie Chicago used the form of going into fantasy. It was through Roxy's eyes. This is how Roxy saw the world. I didn't, for whatever reason, how they did that with the fantasy for In the Heights pulled me out of it rather than drew me into it.
It was weird.
I didn't like that they did those like illustrations or whatever, and like, oh,
Yeah,
Obi-Wan. It
that's-
felt kind of like lame.
That's
You
sort
know?
of what took me out of it, and that's why
Yeah.
I said it was caca.
Yeah, no,
I
I
don't-
agree with that.
I don't want to play the culture card. But the reason those scenes happen and like the heads at the No Me Digas scene and all these things is because magical realism is like a super it's super penetrating in like all things
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I
so-
get it.
But
So
I feel
for
like
me,
this scene
it, like-
specifically, it would have been just as fine. It would have been better actually if you just didn't have that. Like we
That's
can
what I
picture
think,
what a
too.
lightsaber. If he did this, that's fine. All the motion, all the choreography could have remained exactly the same. Just don't add shit in Photoshop.
I bought it on
This makes so
Broadway.
much-
I was screaming my head off, but for whatever reason, this I was like, "Oh, come on, get out of the pool."
But the pool gave them a credence for so much amazing dancing. It made
I
it
liked
so
the pool
big.
scene. That was pretty fun.
Yeah,
Yeah, and can we talk about freaking Sonny, that actor? Oh, we can talk more about him later. Because
Great.
right now we have to do champagne. Go ahead and open up champagne.
right.
Josh, do you want to be Vanessa? Oh my
sure.
God.
Unless
Or
you want to be
Usnavi?
well, whoever you want to be, Marcus.
Who has less to say? That's who I want to be.
Usnavi, so you're gonna
I
be
will
Vanessa Marcus.
No, I'll be Usnavi.
You're gonna be Vanessa Marcus, and Josh, you're gonna be
okay,
Usnavi.
okay.
Yeah.
And you, hold on.
Tell me
You-
what to do.
I think, who said this? Josh said he liked this, and Marcus said he did not.
Yeah.
So, Josh, you're gonna try to make the scene worse,
Okay.
and Marcus, you're gonna try to make the scene better.
What
Okay,
a game. Okay.
Got it.
Whenever you're ready.
I got you a present. I went next door to get it. And doing anything tonight?
Cleaning.
You're done for the day.
No way. Because we got a date. Okay.
Before you board that plane, I owe you a bottle of cold champagne.
No.
Yeah, cold champagne.
Damn, the bottle's all sweaty and everything. You wouldn't go this?
Pop the champagne.
I don't know if we have coffee cups or plastic cups. I already packed the cups.
Tonight we're drinking straight from the bottle, Usnavi.
Yeah.
Daniela told me what you did for me, and it's honestly the sweetest thing anyone ever did for me. Now, what can I say, or do to possibly repay you for your kindness?
How do you get this gold shit off?
Before you go leave town, before the corner changes and the signs are taken down, let's walk around the neighborhood and say our goodbyes. Usnavi, are you all right?
I'm fine. I'm trying to open the champagne. You see the twisty thing is broken, but I'm gonna open up this D-word champagne.
Let me see it.
No, I got it.
Yo, Usnavi, drop the champagne.
I mean, you went to all this trouble to get us a little bubbly.
And it's gonna be okay.
I'm sorry. It's been a long day.
I loved that so
I'm
much.
glad.
Josh, you definitely made it worse. Good job, buddy.
Thank you. Thank you. I
And
tried.
Marcus, I felt the passion.
Thank
I
you.
felt the try. I felt the try. Let's do one more Vanessa and Usnavi, but we'll switch.
Okay.
Guys, I just sent you Blackout.
Yeah, again, like I have my reasons for this, you know.
I totally get the art. I like that they're fighting, but like the things they're saying, it just seems like not to line
Well,
up with like the narrative at all.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Okay, so Usnavi is literally the first person out of the club
Yeah.
in the film.
Mhm.
Literally, he's supposed to be, he says he's looking for Vanessa. Yo, what are you talking about? But no, bitch. You were the first person out of the club and ran away. And Vanessa's like, what do I do? What do I do? You know, like
Yeah.
to me, I was like, ugh, come on. Nobody on the team was like, wait, he needs to be inside the club looking for
Yeah.
a second.
Yeah, I think
Anyway.
like get pulled apart or something like that. That would have been better and more
Yeah.
dramatic. There would have been more tension in the scene.
It just didn't make sense. To me, that was like somebody looked back and went, oops, well, too late to fix it, you know?
Well, you're supposed to secure your mask before securing someone else's mask. So he got out. and then-
Yeah, that's one way of looking at it.
Well, you guys channel all that for the scene. Josh or Vanessa, start whenever you're ready.
Usnavi,
Yeah, Vanessa?
you abandoned me.
Yo, what are you talking about?
Usnavi, all night you barely even danced with me.
Don't make me laugh. I've been trying all night. You've been shaking your ass for half of the heights.
Oh, real nice.
You barely gave me a chance all evening.
What?
Do I get another dance?
I'm leaving.
Vanessa,
I've got to go.
don't walk away from us tonight.
Oh, I don't need anything tonight. I can find my way home
Keep running away from home.
without you.
Oh, savage.
Oh, savage.
This is another thing too. Like I understand, like in the moment I get it, but then this conversation where he was like upset about it, it just was
They
like,
were
what is
both
happening?
dancing with different people
You were
in the
both
club.
dancing.
100%.
Exactly.
And he said it was okay. That's his bad.
Yeah, 100%. It's his bad. She obviously wanted to hang out with him.
Yeah, it's super misogynist. How dare you do the thing I told you you could do? How
It
dare
was-
you?
It was a trick. He's playing games. That's what it was.
I'm not about that. And also, here's something in the narrative of the movie that totally doesn't like work that I realized on my fourth viewing of the film for this podcast. In the original show, Usnavi isn't planning on going back to DR right away. It's once he wins the lotto. Like it's a pipe dream. But when he wins the lotto, then he's like, I'm gonna go back to DR. It's like a last minute kind of
Yeah,
thing.
but
In the
also-
movie, he's actively saving for it.
Yeah.
But he keeps blaming Vanessa for leaving home. And it's like, bitch, you're
You're
trying to
leaving
leave.
You're
too.
leaving home too, boo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also in the Broadway production, or just the show in general, Abuela gets the lottery ticket. Like that's what the Patience and Faith song is about.
Yeah.
I don't want to butcher the Spanish there because I'd be terrible and offensive. But Patience and Faith, it's all about her getting the lotto ticket. And part
Yeah.
of Blackout is Usnavi being like, we got to hide the ticket,
Yeah, that's true.
But anyway, I get why they made the choices they did.
And
Yeah, the
something
blackout
else.
had a lot less tension in it. Like now that you're talking more about the Broadway version, it was like they purposefully made it a very tense moment.
Yeah.
Though I will say the club scene before it was dancing was pretty fucking cool.
Well, yeah. I
It was-
mean,
yeah, it was
everybody
fucking
in the
cool.
film was great. The performances were
Yeah.
great. The dancing was great. Do I have issues with some of the storytelling? Sure, but I'm also a bitch. So, but I'm also right. I'm a Capricorn, and I'm always right.
Mhm.
So,
one more
yabba dabba
scene
do.
here. We're
Wait.
gonna see how Nina and Benny did. I don't remember who said who this was bad or good. I think Marcus, you said you liked it, and Josh, you were like whatever. It
I
was
think we
whatever.
were
Sure.
both sort of meh about
Yeah,
this.
assign us roles, Nick.
Okay, so why don't we do Marcus? You'll be Benny.
Okay.
Josh, you'll be Nina. Take it away and make it
This
less
when you're
meh.
home, less mad.
Yeah, less
Let's-
meh,
Oh, less
Admit
meh.
it.
less meh.
Admit it.
So just take
You're
a choice.
happy. I'm trying to perform.
We are acting here, Nick. Please
This is
stop.
why I'm sorry. I didn't
I'm
hear you
trying to
say
fall in love with Marcus. Okay.
it. Sorry.
Admit
This is all I
it.
really wanted.
Oh, admit it. You're happy I didn't make it at Stanford.
I mean, Nina, I'm not gonna lie. This feels great. A girl gets into NYU, she gets into Columbia, but she has to go to the furthest place possible.
Who broke up with who?
Nina, I'm not gonna be a ball and chain, right? I told you that. We talked about that.
Here we go.
What do you mean, here we go?
Shh. Let me just listen to my block. Stupidest line ever. I used to think we lived at the top of the world when the world was just a subway map, and the 1/9 climbed a dotted line to my place.
There's no 9 train now.
Right. I used to think the Bronx was a place in the sky, and the world was just a subway map. Oh, repeating it. And my thoughts took shape on that fire escape. Can you remind me of what it was like at the top of the world?
Come with me. We begin July with a stop at my corner fire hydrant.
You would open it every summer.
I would bust it with a wrench till my face got drenched, till I heard the sirens. Then I ran like hell.
You ran like hell.
Yeah, I ran like hell.
Oh, I remember. Well, Marcus, I feel a connection.
I'm feeling something. I like it.
I like it too.
Let's open some fire hydrants.
Yeah, why not?
All I wanted was to bring you two closer to kick me off the podcast. That's the only thing. I was
No
hoping.
problem. Even Marcus's cat is like, when is Nick off
We've got
the show?"
4 people on this podcast now.
My cats are black too, by the way. They're
Oh,
the
that's
best.
awesome. I
Yeah,
love it.
me
Black cats
too.
are the best.
Gotta save the black cats.
Hell yeah.
So
Now-
I mean,
Please.
I want to listen to my block. Oh, shut up.
It's pretty dramatic. You know what's so funny? I if a white person said that in this musical, it would be a very, very cringy line.
Yeah, I mean, but then like if it took place in my hometown with a bunch of Mormons being like, I want to listen to my block, and then nothing.
Yeah. Just silence.
You know, come on, kids, let's get a frozen yogurt. You know, like, Timmy, you're going to be late, you know, but
Yeah. It was definitely one of those moments that I'm like, oh, this is a musical, and I understand why people sometimes hate musicals.
well, and you're so educated. Why would you think the Bronx is the top of the world? The world was never your subway map. You've been dreaming about this for forever. You are the smartest one there. So I get it.
Mhm.
Yabba dabba do. It doesn't matter to me. I'm not going to lose sleep. But it's that kind of stuff where I was like,
Yeah.
is somebody going to die and there's a mystery soon so I can really get into it? Because I like dark things.
Well, are you working on that true crime musical? Because I feel like that's a hit waiting to happen, right? there.
Yeah. Serial the musical.
Serial the musical. Yes.
Yeah.
I'd watch that. That sounds awesome.
I wasn't at the Kmart.
I like super dark stuff, and I feel like there aren't enough dark musicals.
They're Sweeney Todd's brilliant, but the movie, oh
Yep.
Lord Jesus,
Yeah,
crucified.
I defend a lot
him.
of movie musicals, and that's the one I'm like, well, they could have done better.
I saw a screening of it when it came out, and Sondheim and Johnny Depp came out to introduce it. And I think it was Sondheim that was like, if you hate it, it's my fault. And then they like ran away. And then we watched the film and we were all like, yeah, we hate it. Yeah. Okay.
Thanks, Steven.
Yeah. Thanks, Steve.
I watched a version of Sweeney Todd. They did somewhere in the city, and they like baked you a pie before you watched the show.
Downtown.
Yeah, and it was so good. I mean,
Brilliant.
it was probably better because I was eating pie, and it was delicious pie.
And the guy who made those pies was the head chef for Obama's family in the White House.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Oh, I didn't know that. It's awesome.
Fun fact.
Back to the film.
Lacking
The-
pies is my criticism.
Me
of this
too.
movie.
I wanted to see pie.
Need more pies. I think I just need to carve out a section of time to talk about what I think is the best part of the film. Maybe you guys will disagree, but Olga Moredes as Abuela Claudia during Paciencia
Mhm.
Fe. They changed it in the musical. It's one that I listen to, but I skip it sometimes because it's fun. They just won the lotto, whatever.
Yeah.
But they reframed it in this movie to be her complete like vision of life, her whole story, and her passing on the torch of her culture as she moves on and says, "I'm finally done." I think it's Oscar worthy. I think it's one of the best performances I've ever seen
I
in
would
my
be
life.
surprised if she's not nominated. She was
Mhm.
brilliant on Broadway. And again, like,
Yeah.
it's not the song you're going to put on when you're
on the elliptical.
Yeah.
But watching her do it
Oh,
is
It was
special.
incredible.
Yeah.
The choreography was great. The lighting was great. The set was incredible. Like
story.
and changing the context and telling a different story with the same
Mhm.
lyrics is great. It
That
takes
was where
talent.
the fantasy I did go with it.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, I think it pushed it all the way to but I think the reason it works so much, which is wild, sometimes I think during some of the other scenes where there's all these like magical realism things happening, all these special things, the performance is getting lost a little bit, right? Because like we're not able to it's like all these gimmicky things, but when it happens here, Olga is so fucking good that she never gets lost. And there's so much going on with all the dancers being the people back in Cuba, the people on New York as she gets first here to the island, and like all that. And there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
A lot of symbolism, a lot of metaphor, a lot of dancing, a lot of switching scenes, and she never gets lost. You know exactly who she's singing to, what she's singing, and those lyrics slap. I mean,
Yeah, she's
yeah,
brilliant. They're brilliant.
I don't know about your guys' history, but I'm a first generation born here. So my grandmother, my mother is abuela, and my grandmother is the mama she's talking about. My grandmother brought my mother here from the island when she was a kid because there wasn't enough things on the island, and they did shitty jobs like cleaning houses when they first got here. And hearing lines like, wow, Cuba was so beautiful, it was so amazing and so formative, but they didn't have food there.
Yeah.
So we had to come to New York. We
Yeah.
had to come here to survive, and it wasn't easy. And the map it paints is totally universal for anyone that comes from any kind of immigrant household, but especially the Latina experience, it hit home so much because I was really close to my grandmother, and and she would speak like abuela. She would say mama. She would say these things. She would talk about these things. She would talk about the island. She only spoke to me in Spanish as I spoke to her back in English. And every time Abuela Claudia sings this song, I'm in tears because it reminds me of what my family sacrificed to get me here now.
Sure.
You know,
That's amazing. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I mean, my grandma also came here from Puerto Rico, both of them. And so it was just like, this lady looks exactly like my grandma. And it is
Yeah.
wild,
Yeah.
the similarities. And it made me cry. It made me very, very sad, especially when she dies. But yeah, it's just one of those things that you have to like acknowledge and deal with. And this movie made me realize like how much culture you kind of lose when you move, you know, and generations pass. Right, like seeing them, she was making like pasteles and pernil and like all these great like Hispanic dishes, and I grew up eating those. And now because I don't have access to my grandma anymore, like, and my mom didn't bother learning how to make them, like I
Same.
don't eat that anymore. So I saw it and my mouth was watering. I was like, I want those meals again. I want that culture back.
yeah, and it's sort of our mother's fault a little bit. They could have been more cognizant of it. I think I blame my mom all the
Just
time.
throw
for-
them under the bus.
100%. But also it's not, because when they came as kids, did your mom come as a kid or was she born?
I
here?
think she was born here. Yeah.
But growing up from that culture and then being thrust in this world, my mother assimilated hard. Her accent is gone. She learned English first. She did not learn how to cook all those things because she needed to survive. That was her coping mechanism for being so different, for being being the Puerto Rican girl in a town full of white people.
Well,
And
there's
all
a
those things get
pressure.
lost.
There's a
Yeah.
pressure from society. There are people who like want you to change, and also from your own parents, right? Like I'm sure your grandma is like, I want the best for you, you know, and I want you to succeed, and I want you to have a nice American life. And sometimes your culture gets lost a little bit because of it.
So after that raving, let's shit on something a little bit. What did you guys like? What did you guys think? Listen, I think everybody's super talented. What did you think of Vanessa's storyline in this film? It got a lot more screen time than it does in the show.
I liked it. I
Great,
don't believe
didn't.
that you're gonna sell like fashion in a bodega, but I liked it.
That was a lot. It was interesting because I feel like growing up in this similar community, I don't know if you guys had this experience, but like when you're in a community, I feel like a lot of times people have big aspirations and dreams, and not all of them seem doable.
Attainable.
And this was one of those ones that didn't seem very obtainable. I was like, okay, cool, like go do your thing, girl. But in the back of your mind, you're like, is she really gonna sell fashion out of a bodega? Like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, then again, like I didn't mind. I liked her. I was like, okay, fine. If I'm gonna be on board with everything else in this, I'm gonna be on board with her too. selling fashion designs in a bodega. The one part that I found confusing is like, why are you bringing your sketchbook to meet a realtor? Like, that's the last thing that a realtor would want to see. They'd be like, show
Oh, you're
me
an
the
artist?
receipts. They'd be like, oh, you're an artist. Bye.
Yep.
100%. I think Melissa does a good job. The more and more I find out about her, she's a Mexican actress, and she was in a bunch of novellas, and this is like her breakout role over here in
Oh,
the
wow.
States.
Fun.
Yeah, but I think the problem I have with it is because I don't think it's the actress. I think it's the way the story doesn't give her and Usnavi's. I think they try to recreate the same relationship from the show, but it's different in the movie because they're changing things. So for me, it doesn't land. For me, her getting out seems when the whole movie is celebrating the block, right? And she's like, the block sucks.
Yeah.
I'm like, is she supposed to be the villain? Like, what? Who am I supposed to root against her? Like, I don't understand. Like, the
Yeah,
whole
but-
point of this movie is like, bring the block together. And she's like, fuck y'all.
Well, also in the movie, the block didn't suck at all. The block was gorgeous,
Yeah.
wonderful. Everybody has fireworks and
Yeah.
dances, and
Yeah.
there's nothing to complain about except
like-
Yeah, so
the
it
white
just,
dude.
like,
Back to your sort of like talk about the Disneyfication of his work. That when you want to leave and everything's beautiful and perfect and awesome and every song's about how great everything is, you're like, okay, then why the fuck does you want to go? It's awesome here.
Is it the elevator train? Is that why you want to go? Like, you're also going to be like, assholes are going to be like, why don't you smile more? Like, they're going to say that downtown too,
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
you know?
Totally. And I think so. I just think that doesn't quite like line up in my
Yeah.
head. But there's so many of this moments in this film that I think are just like phenomenal that they did change, like the DACA thing. The fact that they
Yeah.
painted this brush. Sonny in the show is just a side character. He's the cousin. He's a little comedic relief.
Mhm.
He's got one hard rap and one moment of one song, and then he's like, he's important. But in this movie, he's like the framing device of why it's important.
Yeah.
And the kid, Gregory Diaz the fourth, he freaking slayed it. Like, I
Yeah.
bought it. Like, that moment when he's at the protest with Nina, which is just one of the few acting scenes that wasn't a musical scene that they added that I liked.
Mhm.
Most of them I felt were a little like, I don't need this. This is a musical. Just get to the next song. When he sat down, he's like, I knew I couldn't get a driver's license, but I didn't know I couldn't go to college.
Mhm.
Yeah.
As he had
That
all
was
these
heartbreaking.
dreams and aspirations, it was freaking heartbreaking, to put a face on this whole thing. Because as everything was happening with DACA, things get so political that you're seeing it through this lens, so you almost forget about the people because they don't put them front and center in a huge Hollywood movie like this.
It's true.
Yeah, I loved it. I appreciated it. It also made me think about things that I didn't think about when I saw the show on Broadway, and I was glad that they brought that into it.
Yeah. I
Totally
feel like
agree.
it's one of the few like real issues they were addressing in this movie. There's so much too, right? Like, you don't want to like bog the movie down with real world like shit that's going on and police shootings and all this stuff. But
No, of course not.
but it's nice to get a little bit of realism in the movie.
Just a
No, the
pinch.
realism that I don't know if maybe it didn't work for you guys was I liked that Nina dealt with racism at school. That was
Yeah,
nice
me
to
too.
see. But in the it did lose something because in the show she doesn't hack it over there because she's dealing with so many things like paying for things. Like, it's more of a money thing. And she loses
Oh,
her
interesting.
scholarship because she's working jobs to pay for her books, so she can't study, so she loses her scholarship. So when she comes back and her dad sells the business, that's why. But in this, it's like, I don't belong there. And then she comes back as a deus ex machina and says, Dad, I will go back. I'll let you sell your business because I want to be a lawyer. And I'm like, oh,
That was
I mean,
weird.
okay.
Yeah.
That was annoying to me. Like, I don't think that was the lesson that we should have brought
Yeah.
into the conclusion of that.
I mean,
But I do
eh,
like the stories, about like getting certs and things like that. Those are
Mhm.
those are important. Those happen. Those stories have happened to me.
all in all, I was just like, yeah, it's a musical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that she didn't give up on her dream and they changed that, I guess.
Totally.
It's kind of nice. I don't know. It's a
Agreed.
little cleaner in this than in the musical.
Super agreed. So you guys now you both said you don't like the building dance scene, and I want you guys to tell me why.
I mean,
Justice
tell me
Face.
why you liked it. I just didn't buy it. I thought it was dumb. Also, there was a Broadway performer recently, Kyle, who was in Les Mis and lived, I believe, in the Heights, and he fell off his balcony, his fire escape, and died.
Oh wow.
And so when I saw Benny leaning, like, that's what it brought me back to. And a part of me was like, so many Broadway people, like community people, were a part of the making of this. Did nobody
Oh,
think back to
yeah.
Kyle, which was not long ago? Like for me, I was like, ugh.
Yeah.
But also, like, I mean, if I didn't buy 96,000,
That's fair.
I was not going to buy them dancing on the side of the building.
That's fair.
It's hard because when you translate a musical to movie, you want to use the medium, right? You want to use it to your advantage and take advantage of what's going on. But they could have done something else.
It's like you could have just shut up and sang the song. Like you
Yeah.
could have just told the story.
Also, it's a movie, right? Like transport them somewhere else in the world, or like they could be doing literally anything. It doesn't have to be just dancing on the side of a building.
You guys are so funny. I thought it was pretty.
Mm.
Though there was one moment that I hated, because here's the thing. I'm over here trying to defend the magical realism and be like, hey, listen, I'm here for it.
Mhm.
But then they do that step. The worst, honestly, is the worst moment of the whole fucking film for me when they're dancing on the window and the little boy sees them. And I'm like, well, then the whole conceit of the movie is gone, because it's not magical realism. It's like real magic. And that's not what this movie was. Like, which one is it? Are you real magic or you magical realism? Because I
Yeah.
can't do both.
I feel like
And
all
I hate
musicals are a little magical realism because no one bursts out into song, right? Like,
But I
don't know,
can
maybe where you
buy
come
it
from.
in a theater. I can't buy it. I didn't buy it with this film.
Mhm.
Sure.
But yeah, but I would do.
I'm also more forgiving when I go see a show, right? Like you're going there,
This is true.
you may have paid money for it, and you're just sitting there and you're like, I paid like what? I mean, most shows are at least $100, right? If you're
Yeah.
not going to a lottery
If
or
you're not
something.
getting rushed or something, yeah.
Yeah. So you paid $100 for it. You're like, you know what? I'm gonna like the show. I'm just gonna like it. I'm gonna make it work.
But besides that, we've talked about most of the big numbers. Is there any other numbers that stood out for you, or actors, or choices, or things?
No, I mean, for what it is, I thought that it was wonderful. Is it my thing? No. But for what it was, yeah. Yeah, I think it's great. I think if you love musicals, you're going to love it. If you love In the Heights, you're going to love it. But just like every single thing created, art is subjective. And, like my opinion is not the defining opinion of the film or the show. I'm glad that it was made. I'm glad that people can see themselves. I hope that it inspires, and it will, a new generation of performers. And I think that there's going to be more where that came from, and that's important.
Marcus?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I think it's wonderful. I think it's awesome it was made. I did really enjoy it. And I do think that it has a difficult challenge ahead of itself, right? Like it has to get people who aren't used to watching these kinds of things to watch it, right?
Oh,
I
they
mean,
will. They already have. I mean, when it was on Broadway, it was like, are you Bridge and Tunnel Jewish? Come and see In the Heights. Like...
Yeah, that's true. But also I feel like this is something that it's a little hard for me to not talk about, but like to figure out what the right way of dealing with it is that like Broadway is wonderful and I love theater in general, but it's not accessible for everybody, right? Like the people leaving at the end of the day after seeing Hamilton, it's just like a sea of white, right? Like it's not necessarily the people that should be seeing the representation. And there are programs in place to get people like from all over New York City to go see the show for free. And that's nice. But at the same time, I feel like at least with this, hopefully it has the unfortunate burden of having to like be musical theater for a lot more people. And hopefully people have access to it. Hopefully more people get to see it who can't afford musical theater or don't even live in an area or something. And so I'm interested to see who ends up watching this movie.
Yeah, I think it will do that. I think the whole subject of Broadway being completely unaffordable is like that's another episode.
Yeah, 100%.
But it's true. It's not accessible, and it's nice that this is a way for it to be.
Yeah, I think the only other thing I want to mention is just because I feel like it'd be reminiscent not to talk about it was this film has taken a lot of backlash because some feel that it did not represent the community well enough when it comes to Afro-Latinos. I just wanted to speak on it because we're here and I want to. So for me, I understand the criticism. I totally get that. But as somebody who, for my whole life, in half of my spaces was too dark to be, and the other half of the space is too light to be. I think telling an actor any actor at all, that they're not the right color to be in this film. Like, to tell Nina, who is Afro-Latino, who does have dark skin, that she's not dark enough to represent her own community. To tell, you know, the girl who was Vanessa that even though she in Mexico was considered too dark to be on telenovelas to be the leading part, when she comes here, told she's not dark enough to be a part of the community, I think is a problem. I think there's
Yeah.
a way to talk about it without tearing down, but
I think that there's a problem with internet mob mentality.
yeah.
I think it's really easy to try to make something seem poignant so you get a lot of retweets and favorites. I think that that is very problematic. Also, nobody's always going to be happy. At the same time, I can't, speak to that experience. Though, if I saw Fiddler with a bunch of like white blonde people, I'd be like, what fucking part of Anatevka are you in?
That's a good
like
point.
Anatevka
Yeah.
Malibu? You know,
Stuff.
so I get it, but at the same
Yeah.
time, I'm like, calm the fuck down. This is more representation than there has been in musical theater for forever, and change is slow, period. And this movie, I think, had more diversity than the Broadway one. But that's
Yeah,
just me.
It totally did. It totally does. And but if you knock this down, then the other thing can't come up. But if you lift it up, then that opens the door to, eventually get it perfect.
I just think people need to calm down and they can acknowledge that and be like, I wish that this would have happened. But like, honestly, it's in the heights. Calm
I
down.
I get the anger though. I mean, if you're looking for representation, you see representation, and then you're like, I was close. Like, you got my neighborhood, but not me. Like, I could understand why people would be mad.
Sure.
But it's progress, and I think that we should be celebrating while also keeping a critical eye open.
At the same time, Lin-Manuel is light-skinned, and I don't need him to write the story of a dark-skinned person because that's not their story.
It's also
And
true.
so, I
Yeah.
mean, that's the thing. I think this is true. This is also true. Like, I think
Yeah, it's a
all of it
complex
is
thing.
true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
All
incredibly
right. Well,
complex.
as we wrap up here, just a couple questions, guys. Did you like the movie?
I like the movie.
I thought
was
that it
good.
was great for what it was.
Great. Would you recommend the movie?
To musical theater lovers, yes.
I would recommend it to musical theater people, and I'm gonna try to see if my mom is willing to watch it. She hates
You need
musicals,
to get her to watch.
and I'm gonna see. She likes Grease and Little Shop of Horrors. Those are the only two musicals she'll ever watch.
Then she'll love this.
So I'm gonna send it her way and hope that she watches it and she enjoys it.
And last question. What's the last question? Oh, will
Are you
you
gonna
be
keep
watching?
watching?
Will you be watching more Lin-Manuel Miranda content?
Maybe,
His new Disney film Encanto's coming out. It
That's the
looks
thing.
fun.
I like really dark, twisted things. I only watched this because I was coming on your show.
Oh, well, we're honored. So thank you.
And,
We're honored.
Thank you so much.
And not anything against it. It's just
Mhm.
not my normal form of entertainment.
I get
you
that.
know?
I like Lin-Manuel Miranda, and I think he's very talented, and I am gonna keep watching his stuff. But also, to Josh's point, wouldn't mind if he got a little darker.
Yeah, though my favorite thing that he ever wrote was 21 Chump Street.
Love that.
Oh, that was great.
Was genius.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think he is a
More of that.
genius, period.
hmm
So I appreciate him. I don't really watch cartoons much. Nothing against him, just not my thing. I'm sure it's going to be brilliant. I'm sure you're going to hear like a lot of yo, Pinocchio, braggadocio kind of rhymes. So rad. It's going to help.
All
It's
right.
gonna be a
well,
bop for
Josh,
people.
thank you so fucking much for being here today.
My
Go
pleasure.
ahead and tell the people where they can find you.
On Instagram, I'm at Josh.Layman, Lamon, and Twitter, Josh Layman. Find me. Love me.
And guys, check out his show, Josh Swallows Broadway. It is a great podcast. He interviews amazing people. If you want more back dealings and wheelings of the Broadway world, it is definitely where you want to be. I love it dearly.
Thanks, friend.
All right, guys, if you want to follow us, you can at Now Try This Cast. Join the Patreon, patreon.com/Now Try This Cast.
Hell
Join
yeah.
the community. Be a part of all these challenges coming your way. We stream every Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on twitch.tv/Now Try This Cast. And leave us 5-star reviews on iTunes, please.
And we have one more thing before next week. I have a challenge for you, Nick, right?
Isn't next
Because
week the fan challenge?
Next week? No. When are we
Oh,
recording?
shit,
Are
you're
we
right.
recording
So
Thursday?
yeah, you're right. What's my challenge?
You have
Sorry,
one more
what's my
challenge, Nick, before
Sorry,
the fan
sorry.
challenge is determined.
What is
Sorry.
it? What-
Josh, you have to
what
sit
the
through
fuck?
this. Nick, I'm going to give you a video game that I've been really excited about. I've been having a good time, and god damn it, I hope we could talk for a whole hour about it. It's called Overboard. It's an incredibly fantastic game. It's brand new, super indie, and I loved playing through it. And I think you will too. And Josh, feel free if you want to try it too. Let us know what you thought.
How much of this? I guess you'll tell me how.
I'll
much
tell
I
you
gotta play.
later how much you gotta play it.
All right. Overboard. I guess we're playing Overboard next week, guys. Come
Hell
on
yeah.
through. Marcus, get us out of here.
Okay, guys, thank you so much for watching. Now go out there and try some things. Good night.
Bye, guys.
Friends get together so they can try things. How about it? It's podcast so that you can try things. Now we will stop singing so that we can all now try this.
So the first one you
Oh,
guys
you
should
sent it
have.
via.
What'd you
I
send?
put it on Facebook.
Okay, I need to
Oh.
go
Let
out of
me
this
open
app
Facebook.
and go into another one.
Just trying to make it as complicated as I can.
100%.
You
doing my job.
are
Great.
Messenger.
My cat has joined me to
Nick.
keep me company. So,
Your cat can be
Aw.
the third person in
Seems
some
to
of these
go well.
scenes.
oh, nice.
Oh God. Okay.